Over the many years, our association has worked in several areas of fire safety through our Model Codes Committee and our Science Advisory Committee. And as Bill stated in the introduction, some of our fire safety topics include fire-safe cigarettes, novelty toy-like lighters, and fireworks safety. So let me start first with the fire-safe cigarette issues. In the early part of the decade, NASFM was on the cutting edge of promoting passage of the first fire-safe cigarette laws in the nation. We helped to create a tremendous momentum that has now swept across the entire United States and Canada. As of now, 23 states, including the District of Columbia, are currently selling so-called fire-safe cigarettes, or reduced ignition strength cigarettes. Another 26 states have passed fire-safe cigarette laws that will take effect in the coming months. Two of them are Missouri and Michigan, and they're awaiting the governor's signatures. What is a fire-safe cigarette, some may ask? Well, it's a self-extinguishing. If not smoked, it puts itself out. The fire-safe cigarettes currently on the market are designed to be less likely to ignite a fire in upholstered furniture or mattresses. Of course, we need to be careful when we call anything fire-safe that is designed to burn. People need to be mindful of fire safety regardless of what they're smoking. It is estimated that fire-safe cigarettes could prevent 700 to 900 fire deaths per year nationwide. We are still waiting for definitive statistical data from the states that are selling these safe cigarettes to prove that they have had a desired effect. But there are some drawbacks that we have to watch for. Cigarettes sold on Indian reservations and over the Internet have not been required to comply with the state fire-safe cigarette laws. So this is a potential loophole that could be undermining the effect of the laws. Several of NASFM's members are monitoring regular conference calls held by the state's attorney general's offices who compare notes and jointly work through the implementation of the fire-safe cigarette regulations. Another related issue that NASFM is monitoring has to do with the fact that because fire-safe cigarettes are being produced almost exclusively, manufacturers and testing laboratories can no longer obtain the standard non-fire-safe cigarette that is specified in several federal, state, and voluntary smoldering ignition standards for mattresses and upholstered furniture. In response, the National Institute of Standards and Technology has been working on developing a NIST standard reference material cigarette for use in these standards to replace the previously discontinued cigarettes. So as you see, our fight continues in the fire-safe cigarette arena. Another area that Director Webb mentioned was our novelty lighters. A fire-making tube filled with hazardous substances has no business looking like a toy that children want to pick up and play with. Virtually all toy-like lighters are imported from China. And let me make this clear. They are not being made here or manufactured here in the United States. And their primary method of sale is through convenience stores. Understand that there is federal legislation in both the House and the Senate of the United States Congress that would ban novelty lighter sales nationwide. The name of the bill is Protect Children from Dangerous Lighters Act 2009. It's Senate Bill 723 and House Bill 2050. NASFM supports these federal bills, but we all know that the chances of getting a bill through the U.S. Congress and signed by the President is always a long shot in the best of circumstances. For years, there have been federal fire-safe cigarette bills introduced in Congress, but never went anywhere, dating many years back. So we still want support for federal legislation on the novelty lighters. That is why NASFM has again been on the forefront of recent efforts to ban the sale of novelty toy-like lighters in the states. And progressive state fire marshals such as John Dean in Maine, who is a NASFM's immediate past president, and retired Fire Marshal Nancy Orr of Oregon have led the way. Maine was the first state to pass a law banning novelty lighters in March of 2008. Since then, 9 states altogether have passed legislation, and North Carolina being the most recent. They're restricting the sale of toy-like lighters in some way in all of the states. Another 14 states have active bills in their legislatures, including mine here in Georgia, and 8 states have defeated bills during this session. But they will come back in the future, I can assure you. Two states, Iowa and Utah, are studying the issue and will come back to their legislators with recommendations. And in some states like Arkansas and California, local jurisdictions have banned novelty lighters and have passed a ban, usually triggered by an incident where a child has been killed or seriously injured by a fire ignited by a toy-like lighter. This is somewhat different from the safe cigarette issue, in which virtually the same bill has passed every state. With novelty lighters, there are some big differences in how the laws would work from state to state. For example, some laws ban the sale of lighters altogether, while others restrict the sale to certain age groups, which is an imperfect solution in our view, because it still allows children to get their hands on lighters purchased by adults. And some laws require the state fire marshal's offices to keep a list of banned lighters. NASFM promotes a model state bill that is patterned after the law passed in Maine, which is a total ban. We have been working with other fire groups, including the CFSI, as well as the Lighter Association, which represents the makers of lighters here in the United States. Our model bill exempts standard-shaped, disposable, and refillable lighters, as well as the lighters that are manufactured prior to 1980 and could be considered antique or collectibles. The kind of toy-like lighters we're talking about, we are targeting, did not enter in the U.S. market until the mid-1990s. Convenience store operators and importers and distributors of novelty lighters in some states have gone on the record against bans, and they have been successful in some areas in defeating bills. But in Maine, for example, convenience store operators pulled them off the shelves voluntarily at John Dean's request before the ban was even in effect. There is a problem and a small drawback to looking at statistics regarding novelty toy-like lighters. We can't separate out fire set with novelty lighters from fire set with other type of lighters. So we do rely on anecdotal data because that is what we have, and that's all we've got right now. But good news is last year the United States Fire Administration changed its National Incident Reporting Form to include fires involving novelty lighters. So in a few years we might have a better statistics, but NASFM does not believe that we should wait for the bodies to pile up before we do something about novelty lighters in the meantime. And it's important to point out that all novelty lighters, including novelty lighters, need to meet federal child resistance standards, which are enforced by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. Even those lighters that do meet child resistance standards, and many don't, can be a problem. We also recognize that there are poor design and poor construction and safety problems with lighters that go beyond the novelty shape. That's why NASFM is in favor of making the American Standard Testing Method, F400, safety standard mandatory for all lighters sold in the U.S. These lighters are sold in Canada and Mexico also. It is a minimum standard that deals with things like flame height and prevention of mechanical malfunctions for all lighters. And we have encouraged the Consumer Product Safety Commission to act on these issues, and we continue to support them in doing so. Bill also wanted me to go over some issues regarding fireworks. We're supporting the advisory that was brought out by PHMSA, and they had some issues that came forward. The Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration has recently become concerned with the transportation and storage of fireworks by nonprofit organizations. On June 24th, PHMSA released an advisory that highlights existing regulations that govern the transportation of fireworks. NASFM is working with PHMSA to ensure that the June 24th advisory is distributed to the fire service, in particular personnel who inspect fireworks storage facilities. PHMSA has asked that NASFM to assist in developing a long-term approach to ensuring the safety of fireworks storage and transportation by nonprofits, and we're happy to work with them. Some of the areas of concern that came up was through NASFM's PHMSA's investigation were violations that found no hazardous material registration, no hazardous material placards, limited or no hazardous materials training, and no commercial driver's license with hazardous material endorsement on many of those. So in closing, we know that the 4th is here upon us. We know that folks get hurt with fireworks every year, and we want to get the message out that we all have to be safe when dealing with fireworks, and it's best to go to a professional display of fireworks and not do your own.